Well, this week I went down to, where did I go? Oh, I went to Bloomington, Illinois on business this week. Hit a couple retro stores while I was in the area. They're not per se retro stores. They also sell movies and other things. They're called Replay, and one was called Mega Replay or Media Replay. I have links in this video down below of the stores where they're at. One was in Bloomington, one was in Decatur, Illinois. Made some pickups there this week. Mainly I just picked up some PlayStation 1 games to add to my collection. I've started to collect interesting games from my PS1 collection now. They're really cheap to find out in the wild right now. There's a few rare ones that are expensive, like Klonoa, Door to Phantom Mile, and that's one I want to get, and a few other ones. But for the most part, there's some really nice ones out there. They're really cheap. First one I picked up was Blaster Master for the PlayStation. $2.99, not bad. This is like a remake of the Blaster Master game that was on the Nintendo NES. Pretty fun game. It's run and gun, a lot of fun. I enjoy these kind of games. The next one I picked up was RC To Go, which is a RC car simulator. And what's really neat about this game is it has you driving your car from the perspective of you standing on one of these stands where you would stand to drive your RC car in a race. So you watch it go around the track as if you were standing on this stand. It's a neat perspective. It's a really good game. You use the left-hand analog thumbstick to control the throttle and the right-hand analog thumbstick to control your steering. And it works really well. The controls are very responsive. You have on-road and off-road courses in this thing. It's a very enjoyable game. It's, as you can see, it's probably sponsored by Kyosho, which I've had a few Kyosho racing cars, RC cars and stuff. It's a good brand. Next thing I picked up was a puzzle game for my PlayStation called Turnabout. And it's kind of like, a little bit like Sokoban, except instead of you pushing boxes around, you are rotating the screen around to try to get these balls to touch each other, or, that didn't sound good, or two red objects to get together in the maze to win. A really fun game. I like puzzle games, and this was very enjoyable. For $1.99, how can you go wrong? Another game I picked up, which I didn't know anything about, was Tiger Shark for the Sony PlayStation. Well, what's neat about this game is you actually do battle on top of the surface of the ocean. You have torpedoes and you got machine guns, you're battling ships and stuff. And you can also dive under the surface to battle submarines and underwater villains and everything. I didn't know anything about this game. I have never heard of it. And I found it on the shelf, and I was like, huh, I like shoot 'em up games, and this looked kind of cool. It doesn't use the analog stick, but it's pretty responsive using the D-pad on the PS1 controller. I was pretty impressed with it. Controls really nice. Good fun game. Then on a recommendation of one of my buddies, Indie Soul, from Stalking the Retro, he told me to pick up Tiny Tank for the PS1. I like tank games in general. This one's kind of cool. You have, it's kind of like, what was that game? They had the radio announcer as you play. Can't remember. It's got some pretty funny radio announcer that talks while you play the game, and there's like commercials that play while you're playing the game. The tank will talk, which is pretty funny to hear. And what's neat about this game is as you defeat the enemies, you can pick up these armaments to upgrade the armaments on your tank, your little tiny tank, to give you more firepower. Very impressive game. This is highly enjoyable. I've been playing it for about the past hour. Really enjoy this game. So I highly recommend this if you want a really neat tank game to play. And I also picked up Aces of the Air. This is made by Age Tech. And it looks like it was probably one of these budget titles. But it's not bad. You can see the training mission I'm doing here in the video where I'm flying a biplane. It does use the analog stick, so it's fairly responsive. And it's not bad. It's not a bad game at all. So, yeah. This looks cool. I need to play this some more so I can see what else is in here. But it looks like you can fly some World War II planes in here and a bunch of other neat stuff you can do in this game. So this will be a neat one to play. Then for my ColecoVision, I picked up an Atari Max Ultimate SD cartridge. I have a little SD card here. I put all the ColecoVision ROMs on there. So now I can play my ColecoVision games. All the ROMs are stored in this cartridge to play on my machine. Hit the little reset right here to get back to the main menu to select another game from the SD card. What was neat about this is currently they got a sale going on these where it comes with 2 free games from CollectorVision called Mr. Chin and Mario Brothers. So I'll be doing a review video on this later on, and I also plan on covering this in the podcast, the ColecoVision's podcast, sometime in the future to talk about how this has been working out for me once I've used it for a little while. Another thing I had this week sent to me, I didn't pick this up, my good buddy Vipp from over in England picked me up a cartridge called Battle of Olympus. Yeah, the Battle of Olympus, sorry. The Battle of Olympus for the Game Boy regular. This was only released in Europe, and it's basically a port of the NES game. The only reason why I got this is my wife was reading Retro Magazine, and she saw an article about this, and she loves this game on the NES. So she told me that she had to have this game. So luckily my buddy Vipp was able to find this for me and send it over. So that made her really happy to get this. Then I picked up a couple games for my PS2 system. I'm starting to do a little bit of collecting for it as well. Picked up Dragon Rage by 3DO. And what's really cool about this game is the hero of the game is a dragon. You can fly around, you can swoop down and eat orcs or sheep or cows or pigs. You have air attack, air breath attack. You have a fireball attack. You can do a Dragon's Rage, which throws out a fire stream out in front of you that destroys everything in your path. It's kind of neat. I never really heard of this game. I saw it on the shelf when I was out there in Bloomington. Decided to pick it up because I like dragons, and it looked kind of interesting to have a dragon you fly around to beat up enemies with. So I have to play this some more, get a little bit farther into it, but it looks like a really fun game. And the last thing I picked up from a PlayStation 2 is a collection of games by Sega, and it's called the Sega Classics Collection. Now, what's neat about this here is these are remastered versions of classic Sega games. For example, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games on it. First game, Outrun. Okay, you can play in arcade mode. There's other modes you can play, but this is basically the Sega Genesis Outrun game that's been remastered for the PlayStation 2. And the graphics are just outstanding. It has the sound effects. It has the music playing as you race. It does use the analog stick, so it's pretty responsive when you're steering and everything. So it's a pretty good port of Outrun on here. Then the next one I have on here is Space Harrier. I don't have Space Harrier on my Sega Genesis. Never really played it in the arcades, but it's actually kind of fun. It's a good version on here on the PlayStation 2 disc. It's not too bad of a game for a flying shoot 'em up game. The next one here, which is one I really like, is Virtual Racing. I've got this on my 32X. This remastered version on this PS2 disc is outstanding. The only thing I don't like is the car drifts. I don't really see F1 cars drifting very much as they're racing, but it's a good version of virtual racing. It's a lot of fun. And again, it does use the analog stick, so the controls are really nice on it. Then another racing game that I liked was Monaco GP. Basically, it's a top-down racing game. It's a lot of fun to play as well. It's not too bad. And then there's another game I've never really heard about. It's called Tant R, and it looks like it's a collection of puzzle games. I need to look this up and see if it's on the Sega Genesis, because I don't ever recall this game being on that system. Or maybe this is an arcade game that was ported. I don't know. I get some more information about that. As you can see in this gameplay video up here, I'm trying to jump frogs around. Basically, it's Towers of Hanoi. I'm trying to get the three frogs, yellow frogs, to the yellow lily pad and stacked up on top of each other. Then the next one here is Alien Syndrome. Now, I love Alien Syndrome. I've got it on my Sega Genesis. And this remastered version is a blast to play. It's a twin stick shooter. So you got your left analog stick controls your movement, your right analog stick controls which way you're shooting. So it makes playing the game really nice. It's a lot of fun. Really enjoy this version on here. Then the next one I have is called Bonanza Brothers. I've never played Bonanza Brothers. I have no idea what it is. But I'll give it a chance. I'll try it out, see what it's like. And of course we have Fantasy Zone. Now, Fantasy Zone is a fun shoot 'em up game. Basically, you shoot the critters, collect the coins. You find these floating balloons that say shop, where you can buy upgrades to your ship and stuff like that. I've actually got this game on my Sega Master System. And I think I've also got it on my Nintendo NES as well. So this is kind of neat to have on the PlayStation 2, mainly because of the enhanced graphics. It's very colorful. Then the next one is, of course, the classic Sega game, Columns. Just your run-of-the-mill puzzle game, match 3. Nothing spectacular. Music's okay. I didn't really see a big improvement in graphics on this game particularly, but it was okay. And of course, the whole reason why I bought this disc is for this last game, Golden Axe. Now, I love Golden Axe on my Sega Genesis. I've got Golden Axe 1 and Golden Axe 2. I love the arcade game Golden Axe. Matter of fact, I would love to have one in my house. But unfortunately, I don't have room for a full-size arcade machine, but I do have my little one, which eventually I'll put a updated game card in it where I can play Golden Axe on it as well. But the enhanced graphics on this version is really nice. It's actually a bit easier to play than the Sega Genesis version. Enemies are still fairly difficult to battle. I love the different moves they have, and I don't really like the power-up moves when you use your magic spell. It kind of goes to another cutscene and shows your guy standing there throwing the files up in the air, and this stuff happens, and it goes back to the game screen, and the guys go flying everywhere. Don't really like that. I kind of liked it when the action happened on the game screen itself while you were playing. But other than that, it's a great game. It is 2 players at once, and you can use the analog stick to move around. So I'll have to get my wife to play this with me because she's a Golden Axe fanatic as well. Matter of fact, she can play from the start to the finish of the original Golden Axe on my Sega Genesis without losing a life. She's that good at it. She'll do the same thing with Golden Axe 2 also. So it'll be interesting to see how good she does on this version of Golden Axe. So that's pretty much all the pickups this week. So, if you got any stories you want to submit for the ColecoVisions podcast, you can go to my Facebook page, ColecoVision Podcast, or you can send an email, ColecoVisionspodcast@gmail.com. If you have any kind of stories or memories you want to share about the ColecoVision console, the pack-in game Donkey Kong, or in this upcoming episode, we're going to be talking about Smurf's Rescue and Gargamel's Castle. also the Gamester 81 video game. And for the classic Coleco toy, we plan on talking about the electronic quarterback that was made by Coleco. Plus, there's also going to be the normal Quiz Whiz trivia section in there that we did last time. We'll have the high score competition between my co-host and I playing Smurfs Rescue. And a few other little surprises will be in the podcast as well. So, thanks for watching and keep gaming. Time for this week's pickup video.